Hi there, and welcome to the energy updates for the week that starts tomorrow, the 15th of February, and runs all the way until the 21st of February, and is set to be one of the most life changing and powerful weeks of our life, complete with the first new eclipse in the new cycle of Aquarius on the 17th, and also a 9,000 year, which is really just based on what we can kind of tell, aspect, which will be Saturn and Neptune meeting in Aries at 0 degrees on Sunday, the 21st. As if today, the 14th, with Saturn moving to Aries, was not enough. My name is Analia. I am the Explicit Empress, and I will be your translator of this energy. So let's get into it. The 15th of February, what have you got for us? Well, 1227, we're having a semi-square. Okay, now the semi-square here is here to tell you that an outworn situation that makes you reject your own truth, especially when it comes to how you live your everyday life, your day-to-day, and possibly even some of the ways that you oppress your own needs when it comes to intimacy and when it comes to being a bit of a wildling, okay? So that then moves into this square to Chiron, and that gives us a little bit of a hint about why we rejected those things about ourselves in the first place, because Chiron is at 23 degrees of Aries, which is an Aquarius degree. So with Capricorn being very serious and very focused with its 23 degree moon, it is saying to us it's time to take responsibility for the side of us that we have kept in the dark because we were afraid of how it was going to be seen. And then we get a semi-square to the node, which has now moved to 8 degrees, which is a transformation degree. So the nodes move backwards, just in case you are unaware. They start at 29 and they go back to 0. So at 8 degrees, we are transforming something, and that is going to be where we focus our mind in the future, where you focus your goal, where you focus your dream, whether or not you're allowing yourself to go with the flow of your own energy. Okay. Now we are being asked to keep our minds open during that semi-sextile at 10:07, and then we get to the moon trining Uranus. Okay. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at that one. So when the moon trines Uranus, it's going to be still very close to Pluto there. Okay, they are not in conjunction that far apart, but they are still having a little conversation. Okay, so we can see here that when we are trining Uranus, we're obviously moving into that sextile with Saturn as well, and that sextile with Neptune. Okay, so this trine to Uranus, which is the 27 degrees, is very much about things that you've collected, information that you've collected, that you've understood. And Uranus being a 7-year cycle, we're looking at that. Okay, so let's really focus, let's really take responsibility for some of this information that we've received over the last 7 years, especially in places where we've needed to evolve, we've needed to grow, we've needed to see something from a different perspective, and especially in places that involve Taurus things, reputation, material things, our bodies, our being present, nature with where we are in life. Okay, so all of those kind of topics, also depending on where Taurus is in your chart. Okay, because depending on what house it's sitting in is going to give you a clue to where it is that you need to be looking. Okay, and then we get the semi-square to Mercury when we see that moon reach 28 degrees, and that's really asking you to get rid of any outworn belief systems that you know in your gut don't belong to you. Okay, then that is when the moon will be void, right? So it's going to go void with that trine to Uranus. So we're going to have a bit of time in that void moon space, okay, because that's going to go, I think it goes until just before 5 o'clock. So bit of haze, all right? And as always, void moons are not the right time to be making big decisions, okay? So then when we get to the moon in Aquarius, it meets up and makes a sextile with Saturn and Neptune, okay, because they're about to be aligned. So we get the moon coming in, it's making this sextile with both Saturn and Neptune. And because there's an Aquarius moon, and because that Aquarius moon is moving us into an eclipse, this is really fucking important, okay? This is really important, this energy, because that Aquarius moon is bringing the emotional side of the Aquarius energy into this conversation. And it's doing so right next to Pluto. Okay. So it will be conjunct Pluto, moving into a perfect conjunction with Pluto, as you can see. They will get into perfect conjunction at 1 a.m. So as we're moving into this, the moon in Aquarius is becoming much closer to that Pluto at 4 degrees. So this sextile to Saturn, this sextile to Neptune, that is really trying to shift some values. Okay. It's really trying to have you think about the future, have you think about who you want to be in the future, and really have you feel through anything that is out of fear, hidden, right? Out of fear of being judged, fear of being seen in the wrong light, fear of doing the wrong thing, fear of being too weird. All of that shit needs to be let go of. Okay. And then we get this Venus squaring Lilith. Let's jump to that time. Okay. 11:05 p.m. And let's have a closer look at that one as well. Okay. So let's find Lilith. Where are you? Over here. So I've mentioned this once or twice before, but as Lilith at 6 degrees is very much talking about the way that the effect of the part of you that you reject, how that effect comes into your everyday life. The 6th house is about the relationship that you have with the physical body, with your physical world. Okay. It's the relationship that you have, that your mental health has in that body, the relationship that you have with your spiritual and emotional health in that body, in this life, right? 6 degrees, 6th house, in this life. Very much related to things like habits, like being discerning, like making sure you're eating well, looking after your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, and of course, the fucking physical health. Okay. So when Venus squares Lilith, we're going to have both Neptune and Saturn are going to be in the 6th house. So they are very much listening to what this Venus square Lilith has got to say. Okay, so Lilith is going to be just 1 degree inside the 6th house when she, inside the 2nd house at 6 degrees when she makes this square with Lilith. Okay, sorry. Lilith will be just inside the 2nd house, and Venus is in the 5th house, which is also very interesting because with Venus in Pisces, yes, it's imaginative, yes, it's creative, yes, Venus fucking loves Pisces. But one of the reasons that Venus does love Pisces is because Venus is about worth and love, and Pisces is a bit about delusion and illusion and being like in an idealized relationship. So yeah, okay, Venus and Pisces love each other and they love hanging out, but you know, like all problem friends who love hanging out, they do have a weakness, and that weakness is the delusion, and that weakness is pumping up each other's delusion. Okay, so when we're having a Venus in Pisces in 6 degrees, it's really asking you to look at the way in which you live your life and the experiences that you have in your body, in your daily life, and how those things maybe can be more creative, but also where you need to address these issues of idealizing love, idealizing worth, putting this most perfect ideal relationship in your imagination and expecting it to play out in your everyday life. So we sort of see this little bit of a delusional kind of vibe here because with the 5th house, we're in like pleasure and casual sex, but we're also being reminded of something that we were made to feel powerless about as a child. Okay. And being that we're in Pisces energy, this is something relating to a trauma, maybe an ancestral trauma, maybe a generational trauma, but there's going to be some kind of powerlessness that has come from the idea of worth in relationships. Okay. Maybe it wasn't you in a relationship. Maybe it was watching your parents. Okay. And because we've got the North Node right next door at 8 degrees, the reason that we've got this coming up is because we're like, this is something that is making you fearful of moving forward, right? Whether that's moving forward into a more committed relationship, moving forward into a different relationship, moving forward away from a relationship, okay? So the square is causing friction here because Lilith brings rebellion. And in Sagittarius, she says, where have you rejected your truth that you kind of now need to bring some fucking rebellion to, okay? So And as I've mentioned a number of times, this Mercury in Pisces phase all the way up until April 26th is definitely asking you to revise your mentalities, your thoughts, your patterns that involve healthy habits for your overall well-being, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Okay. This is one of those moments. Okay. This is one of those moments. This is likely to spark some people up if you have, you know, Pisces, Virgo placements at 6 degrees, Gemini, Sagittarius placement around 6 degrees. You're going to be feeling these ones quite heavily. Okay. So yeah, this energy, it's wanting to cause this friction because something needs to evolve and change. Something needs to shift with something that's been kind of an illusion with how you're building relationships. And the reason that it's been the illusion is because you rejected something about your needs, whether that be intimate needs, whether that be freedom requiring needs. Okay. But you've rejected something about that from a position in your past where you were made to feel powerless. And this aspect is trying to shake that up. Okay. And we know that because the next aspect that we get on the next day is going to be a conjunction to Pluto, 4 degrees. Okay. So it's going to be involving the family space. So that's what I've got February 15th. Let's move on to February 16th and let's jump into straight away that conjunction to Pluto. So 4 degrees is a Cancer degree. 4 degrees relates to the mother. It relates to security. It relates to stability and security and nurturing and all of these family mother related qualities. Okay. So this conjunction is helping us see, you know, these little bits of us, these maybe unconventional to our families, maybe the weird parts of us, but it's helping us see those things. It's helping us see why we put them away and it's going to help us really bring them out. Okay. And, you know, we got the eclipse on the 17th. So a big moment is coming. This week is all about transformation. And when we see this conjunction, it's in the 3rd house, right? Which is the way we think. It's in the way we communicate. And so this is going to be really trying to show us, and you can see there that we also have this trine to what's going on in the 6th house and also this square to what's going on in the 6th house. So this is where we really need to be taking this control into our own hands, right? And we can see that that square is also going up to the 12th house onto the anti-vertex, okay? And making the sextile still in that sextile with Lilith, okay? So the squares are trying to cause friction here. So one of the points of friction where it's causing is in the 12th house, right? Of everybody, because this is the chart of everybody. And that is, you know, something that's going on subconsciously, right? But we can see that that is also at 6 degrees. And so then down here, the other square at 6 degrees is the vertex, which is a fated moment. So when we have this conjunction, the likelihood of something kind of coming to the surface that is asking you to do something, but it's kind of out of your hands, right? Like something comes up, something fated, something you can't control, and you have to react to it. And if we see who this vertex is talking to when it gets triggered, it's trying to make adjustments here with this part of us that we've rejected. And it's trying to show us something up here that needs to transform about our social reputation and or career and work and legacy and the things related to that, and where we judge ourselves too harshly. Okay. So as this vertex gets triggered by Pluto and the moon making a square, it then spreads out and starts talking to this south node karmic component and saying like, hey, we need to stop fucking judging ourselves here. Like, hello, let's stop judging ourselves so harshly because it's affecting our social persona, right? And this could be something that eventually comes out in public because of where this aspect is. Okay. So we're needing to really make a conscious effort to think about the ways in which we experienced our childhood, the everyday physical life of it, and how we want that to change in the future. And we're going to do that because this Pluto and the moon is going to meet up and they're going to show us some of our little fucking secrets. Okay. So then we're going to have the moon is going to make a sextile to Lilith next. All of this fucking 6 degree stuff, man, I'm telling you, if you are not looking after your body, especially this close to an eclipse, you're going to get sick. And I've seen it. I have seen a number of high water energy people because you guys are going to feel it first. Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. Cancer and Pisces especially. This kind of heavy energy, you need to be looking after your body. Okay, you will feel it first. It'll make you sick first. Everyone is going to be feeling this very physically in their bodies. All right. So the sextile to Lilith is telling you that we need to make a conscious effort to really uncover, and to do that by making a daily plan, having daily habits that connect us back to ourselves. And a semi-sextile with Venus next is saying that you need to stay open-minded as you do that, because relationship spaces will need to shift to meet with your new standard, your new habits, your new program, whatever the hell it is that you've moved into, that your body is telling you you need. Okay. And then that quintile to Lilith, that's going to be a bit narky. Okay. 18 degrees is a Virgo degree, and it's really critical. Okay. So Mars at 18 degrees of Aquarius is going to be pretty harsh looking at your day-to-day life, your habits, the way in which that you service your physical existence. Okay. It's going to be pretty fucking harsh in looking at it, because Aquarius is quite cold and it doesn't mind a bit of fucking rebellion. All right. So these two working together, that Mars at 18 degrees of Aquarius and Lilith at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, even though a quintile is not a major aspect, this is going to be a little bit mean. Okay, so be careful that it's not being mean at other people for no reason, because the purpose of it is to show you something about yourself that you haven't seen that you can now be using as power. Okay, so we need to be like in that open-minded space again, because look at all these semi-sextiles and semi-squares. Okay, so that semi-sextile that comes next to the nodes, that's where we're trying to transform the way that we see the future. And then we get this quintile to Chiron saying like, hey, now that we're in this authentic energy, I'm going to need you to like see if there's any skills, any habits, any power that you might have in that Aquarius place. And we need to start taking up more space as who the fuck we are, says Chiron. All right. Now, 4 p.m., the sun's going to square Uranus. Brutal little aspect. Okay. Because a square is friction. All right. And because we're in Aquarius, it could be very much so involving travel. You might get stuck. And I'm telling you, I've had enough of traffic this week. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But you could absolutely be finding yourself kind of stuck somewhere. So let's go to this aspect around 4 p.m. With the sun squaring Uranus. And we can see here that the sun's going to be in the 8th house. Okay, so the house of transformation. And we've got Uranus just on that cusp there in the 11th house. All right, so this one could show up in your friend groups, right? Groups of people, could be maybe just like a club that you're a part of, right? But you could really have some differing beliefs come through. You might see that these people are not your fucking people anymore, and the only reason you were holding on to them was because you were stubbornly trying to not see something about them. All right. This whole week, this whole eclipse cycle with Aquarius and Leo that we have just entered, that is going to be removing bullshit people from your life. People that are blocking you, people that you wouldn't even know are blocking you. That is why the spiritual people are saying surrender. Because as a very wise spiritual person once said to me, your ancestors see and hear things that you do not. So how dare you not trust them when they're guiding you forward? Okay, this is one of those times. So then the semi-square to Saturn, the semi-sextile to Mercury, the semi-square to Neptune, all just like coming in one after the other. The moon will be at 15 degrees of Aquarius, which is a Gemini degree. So it's going to go really quickly. It's looking for information. It wants to find information that helps it learn something new. Okay. So what are we looking for? Saturn in Aries is saying there's an outworn situation that you have the information for that we're not taking through into this Saturn. Absolutely not. We're going to get rid of it. And we need to be very fucking mindful that a Saturn at 0 degrees of Aries is going to act really fucking damn quickly with its karma. And if you are choosing things that are not for you, you will find out very quickly that they are not for you. Okay. Then the semi-sextile to Mercury is going to be helpful, because it's going to help us stay open-minded, extra open-minded, because a Mercury in Pisces dissolves those boundaries around our mind. And, you know, the moon in Aquarius at 15 degrees. So it's looking for that information. So we're able to then kind of go into the filing cabinets of that Mercury space, our mental space, which has no boundaries. And we're able to find that information, because that semi-square to Neptune and the semi-square to Saturn, that sandwich, that little aspect, are telling you to let something go, because you are not taking it with you in the new cycle. And then we get to that quincunx to Jupiter. And that one right there, it is really saying adjustments need to be made in how you see your family space. Okay. So big lead up to this fucking bad boy right here. All right. The 17th. And I am just going to go straight down to that eclipse so that we can see what it's going to do for us when we get there. Let's go. All right, so we start off the 17th with this interesting Mercury quintile Uranus. Okay, so 15 degrees, 27 degrees, we're at a Gemini degree. And yeah, we are, again, using that information to try and find like an unlooked at skill, right? Like an untapped ability that you've not seen because of all the fuckery, right? Maybe because of all the instability that we've been going through. And because we are in Mercury in Pisces, which is dissolving these boundaries, we can now find that gift, right? Find that untapped ability. And we can do so by accessing as well this Lilith placement, right? Where we can use that moon at 18 degrees, which, mate, that bitch knows how to go through a filing cabinet, especially in Aquarius. Okay, that mind is not going to stop. Tick, 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 tick. We are overthinking, all right? We are overthinking. I mean, we're overthinking from like the 16th, right? Probably late on the 15th, tomorrow afternoon, 15th, from when I'm recording it, late on the 15th until like, mate, the 21st of Feb, we're overthinking. It's an overthinking space. We're accessing information that we haven't had access to for decades. So that quintile to Lilith, right? Let's have a look at the real everyday reality of that situation. Let's have a look how much you allow yourself to shine your rebellion, to access your dark feminine nature, to rebel against other people's ideas of what it is and who it is and where it is and all of the things about the shoulds of who you should fucking be, right? Now, this conjunction to Mars at 509, I love this. The conjunction to Mars at 19 degrees, which is a Libra degree, which asks about the give and take, okay? What is the give and take of how much you allow yourself to move forward authentically? Where is the balance in the emotional authenticity and the way that you are moving? Do you need to rebel against the way that you've moved in the past because of the things that you now know about yourself? Do you need to do something different? Do you need to see something different? Can you see the balance now from a different perspective? Okay. This aspect is going to be really fucking good for making plans, for starting like to get an idea of how something can come together, for having conversations with people about some weird and wonderful ideas. Okay. So 8:31, Mercury trines Jupiter. Okay. Now, what the 17th is a Tuesday. Don't go to work. Okay. Don't go to work. So Mercury trining Jupiter at 15 degrees, that could bring up some shit that you didn't expect to come through, right? And it could come through with a bit of rage because Mars in that aspect earlier, Aquarius is a bit cold, but it will fucking fight you if you have a go at it. And Mars is about, it's war, right? So this is like being like turning your fucking feelings off and going to fucking war. And so then when we get to Mercury trining Jupiter at 15 degrees, we've been in that family trauma space, that opening up of those family wounds for a fucking long time now, with that Jupiter Cancer cycle, as well as all of the Cancer moons and the Mars in Cancer retrograde at the end of 2023. Like, it's a time. We've been in this idea for a time. And so Mercury at 15 degrees of Pisces and Jupiter at 15 degrees of Cancer, still retrograde, mind you, still retrograde. And, we're in the Mercury retrograde shadow period. So like I mentioned in that video, I hope you've been taking notes. Okay. This is one of those moments, be taking notes. Okay. So what is coming up? What thought patterns are being triggered? What family moment shows up in your life? Who calls from home? You on the phone to your mum? You on the phone to your dad? Did your sister reach out? What conversations are you having that are trying to work on family trauma stuff, right? Family wounding stuff. Because then the biquintile comes in and that's saying let something go, right? There's an outworn situation that needs to be let go of. And you have to do that because the truth of your authentic self and the emotions attached to that are now too obvious, okay? And then the sextile to Chiron says, even if you don't fucking think it's obvious, why don't you go on a little exploration mission Okay, and have a think about the ways in which you were not allowed to take up space being who you are supposed to be as a child. Let's go on a little mission and find out. Okay, Venus makes the semi-square to Chiron at 4:58 p.m. and that's at 8 degrees, Scorpio degree, death and rebirth, transformation degree. Maybe what you're finding out about that childhood wound is that you've currently got relationships in your life that uphold that restriction on you taking up space as the fucking weirdo. Okay, because if you do, bye-bye. If you do, bye-bye. Don't be fucking getting in the way of my weirdness no more. That's the vibe. Okay, that's the vibe. Then the moon squares Uranus. Okay, and that bitch, it's going to be in that square. Well, we'll be separating, but it's going to be there when we hit the eclipse. Now, a square to Uranus is rough because Uranus brings chaos, right? It is the planet of upheaval anyway. And when it makes a square, that is a different type of fucking upheaval, right? That is a different level of chaos. And we're in eclipse energy. So let's layer on a whole fucking other level. And Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius, and the moon is in Aquarius. So huge amount of chaos, like unexpected things being seen, unexpected things being figured out. So much unexpected fucking energy around this eclipse, okay? Now, as you can see here, this is where everything is gonna fucking be, all right? So we are very deeply in the family space, right? Pluto will be in the 4th house, so it is talking to those sorts of ideals, how you grew up, the parts of you that you put away into that shadow space, into that darkness, the parts of you that you hid away because you thought they were too weird and you learned that shit growing up, right? Then all of that other energy, the Mars, the moon, the sun, Venus, the North Node, and Mercury are all in the 5th house. House of fun, house of pleasure. This is where I'm going to say do not use partying. Do not use substances. Do not use addictions to people, addictions to intimacy. Do not use any of those things to bypass what is trying to be shown to you. And what is trying to be shown to you with an eclipse happening at 28 degrees in the 5th house, what is trying to be shown to you is where you were made to feel powerless as a child, to be nurtured as your own individual fucking self, and how that affects your life in reality and also in your emotional and spiritual space. And if we see who that's talking to, that is only talking to Uranus, who will be dishing out the fucking information it's given you over the last 7 to 8 years, and how it's given you that information in close relationship dynamics. We're talking exes, ex-partners, ex-best friends. We're talking about fucking current partners if you've been with them at any point in the last 7 years. We are talking about the best friend you've had since kindergarten. We're talking about, your mom who's your best friend. No one is safe from this, okay? Close personal relationships, especially those that feel like family because Pluto is in the 4th house when this happens. Close personal relationships is where you have collected information about how that wounding that happened to you in your childhood that made you feel like you weren't allowed to take up space being who you are. That shit, it is time to fucking change it. And that is going to shake up a number of personal relationships in your life, okay? So the sun is just going to be talking here, but the moon, you see that? Making a little trine over there. You know what that is? The point of fortune. You know where that is? On the fucking ascendant. Okay? Now, with the point of fortune on the ascendant, it's in opposition with the descendant, isn't it? So the way that the moon is chatting here, it's working in harmony over there. And that point of fortune, who's in Scorpio, which is really telling me 5 degrees, fun, casual, intimacy. All right, but also sneaky secrets in fun, casual intimacy and how that affects your luck and how that affects the window that people see you through. Okay, how that affects that. Now, that it is going to be in opposition with the fucking DC, which is what are your relationships, how you relate to people. Relationships are a huge component of this, okay? And any relationship that restricts your freedom, that restricts the amount of space that you are meant to be taking up which is as much as you fucking want and deserve, being yourself, anywhere that you are being oppressed, when you try to be yourself in a close personal relationship dynamic, will not survive. Will not survive. You know, it might survive this because maybe you'll hold on to it and refuse to see. Okay, but I wouldn't be fucking doing that because, like I said, Saturn's in Aries and the backhand will come very quickly. People under this energy who are completely avoiding responsibility of making that change, you'll know. You know how you'll know? They'll get sick. They'll have some kind of illness show up. They'll get some kind of injury, something that hangs around, right? Something that hangs around. Like anyone who's kind of getting sick, who you know is in some kind of unbalanced fucking relationship with their best friend or their fucking mom or their partner, they're gonna get sick or injured. Just mark my fucking words. At the very least, their car's gonna break down. I'm telling you. Their technology will be fucked as well, Aquarius, okay? Any of those things that are happening to you, like that you can't really, oh, you know, I've been eating really well and sleeping really well and I'm not feeling great. Oh, is that your best friend over there using you? Okay, this is the energy, especially while Mercury is retrograding and in Pisces until April. You're going to know in your physical life. Something's going to get in your way. And the trick will be to not go, woe is me. Someone feels sorry for me. The trick will be, what the fuck am I doing? You know what can help you with that? A birth chart reading. Get one. Okay, so that eclipse energy, the moon goes void with that as well. All right, so the moon goes void with that. We hold on to that space. And then the moon moves into Pisces very early in the morning on the 18th. Okay, so let's take a look at that. February 18th, what have you got for us? Adjustments. Adjustments, adjustments, adjustments. I do like this first aspect. I am going to jump straight to it because I do like it. Okay, 44, and I should have done that for the Now, this conjunction to the node is going to feel quite nice. This is the transformation. This is like, you know, if you have come through the 17th and you know what relationships need to be moved, or maybe you're not quite sure, but you're kind of feeling it, right? When Venus conjuncts the node at 8 degrees, if you're asleep or awake, I think Pisces energy, you're very likely to have a dream about it and then really wake up understanding it, okay? So the moon will be, I think the moon will be void during this Venus conjunction to the node as well. So it's like all boundaries are literally removed. Okay, all fucking boundaries. And we are at 8 degrees, which is a Scorpio degree, right? And we're dealing with worth. We're dealing with the future. We're dealing with Pisces, so we're dealing with traumas, but we're also dealing with boundaries being dissolved so that we can see everything, so that we can understand everything. And so this is like where you might have just had a little niggle during that eclipse that this isn't working out. And then this Venus conjunct the node and that the rest of the fucking energy throughout this day, it's going to show you why. It's going to explain itself, right? So like the reason why maybe you can't commit to moving forward in the future with this relationship or this job or making plans in the future with your bestie, maybe that's because death and rebirth, 8 degrees Scorpio, crash and burn. Like, no, we don't need that. There's something uncomfortable about moving into the future with that energy. And you don't know what it is, right? So then Neptune and Saturn come in, semi-sextiling, saying like, you keep an open mind and I'll fucking show you. Okay. And then that says quadrant to Jupiter with the moon at 0 degrees of Pisces at the same time, right? So it's saying, I'll fucking show you. And then it's going to show you. It's going to get the information that we've collected while Jupiter has been in Cancer, which is the information that you know from your childhood. And it's going to show you where you keep going back into bullshit patterns when it comes to these negative relationships. And then you're going to have your information, right? And then semi-sextile to Pluto just before 9 a.m., which is like, oh, in case you haven't seen it yet in your family space, let's go into the underworld. Let's look at your shadow. Let's look at these things that you maybe haven't looked at for a little while because the answers are also in there. And then the square to Lilith at 6 degrees, again, 6 degrees. Okay, be careful. Be careful. Be careful with your feet, okay? Because Pisces, all right? Be careful with your feet. And Sagittarius, there's often like an energy that's moved too fast, can't see where you're going. So like the realistic, not realistic, but the real world risks over this eclipse energy and over the next week are going to be like being distracted, being clumsy, and hurting yourself. Kicking your toe, breaking your foot bones, fucking breaking your toe, spraining your ankle, all of these sort of foot related things, okay? And also like bumps just that you can't explain. And like, yeah, neurospicy people, we do that shit all the time, but this is a little bit more than that, okay? Because these sorts of distractions are really heavy, right? And with all these 6 degrees around and all this 6th house activation, health and habits, illness and injury, okay? Yeah, especially important if you are a Pisces, even Cancer people as well, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Gut issues as well, because Virgo gets squared by that energy. And eclipse wise, anyone who's got Leo, maybe Leo 6th house, like around 28 degrees, like if you have a 28 degree 6th house in Leo, you stay calm. That's heart shit. Yeah, Leo rules the heart. Okay, big energies, huge energies. Not you though, Orange Gemini, Oompa Loompa, who runs the country in America. You get as fucking, you freak yourself out as much as you like. You get very heightened in your emotional state, okay? Because I don't think your heart's going to be able to handle that opposition. Anyway, moving on. That's just a little dream of mine. So semi-square to Chiron, because there's that outworn situation came from your childhood, hands down. Then we get a conjunction to the node, right? So we get the Venus has that conjunction to the node early on. We kind of understand our worth, our relationship spaces that need to align with where we're heading. And then the moon comes in and that brings our emotional space in as well. So now our emotional space is coming into a line and the moon and Venus are conjunct. So the moon and Venus and the node are all conjunct. And we can really see where we're moving forward to. This is going to help people shift their values around relationships. It's going to help you transform anything that needs to be burnt down. It's really going to help with all of that sort of stuff. Okay, let's go on to the 19th. All right, 19th. What have you got for us? Again, it's kind of another day of like integration energy after the eclipse. All right, so let's go. Let's move over there to the 19th. Oop. Okay. So again, this quintile to Uranus, right? Helping us use this information that we're starting to really integrate and understand and make and kind of become a little bit more wise because of it. And because of that, we're going to find, abilities and untapped like energies that we didn't think that we had, right? And then the trine to Jupiter. So now we're like inputting that information into this idea of family and nurturing and love. And we're changing our whole mentality around it. And so the moon conjuncting Mercury at 18 degrees of Pisces is like really being able to connect to your emotional intuition. Great time, 19th. So this is going to be a Thursday, but a really great time on the 19th to listen to a lot of music that is healing. To do a lot of art, like detailed, notice the details in things. Notice the words of the music. Notice the beat of the music. Notice how it feels in your body, right? Notice the way people are speaking to you, the tone in their voice, the confidence maybe, or the lack of confidence, the manipulation maybe. Start noticing the details, because without those boundaries with Mercury and Pisces, we're sort of able to access our own ability to read between the lines, okay, which is just a skill that Mercury and Pisces people have. But under this aspect, we all can kind of have a little go of it. Now, 1142, semi-square to Pluto, right? Outworn situation where something isn't balanced, right? Where the give and take is not correct. And part of that, you're going to need to find this power from your underworld space, right? So semi-sextile to Mars then is saying that we really need to keep an open mind about what needs to be transformed when it comes to how we move forward, right? How we take action, what we do with our repressed rage, what we do with our sexual energy. Something needs to be transformed, because as we start integrating these traumas, and at 20 degrees, there is a version of it that is related to Scorpio energy traumas, and how that affects our ability to sort of lock in and move forward and do that in the way that we really want to, okay? And the sun will move into Pisces, a happy Pisces solar return, my friends. And then it will immediately have a conversation with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, okay? And right sandwiched in the middle of that is the moon having a conversation with Chiron. Okay, so this is really where that sun in Pisces, because this is it. This is the final season. Okay, as I've been saying, the astrological new year is about to end. This is the final month of the astrological year. So this is the one where we are wrapping things up, where we are integrating, where we're finding wisdom where we used to find trauma. And so with this semi-sextile to Saturn and Neptune is how we're starting off Pisces season. That's really asking you to stay open-minded for the rest of Pisces season, open-minded with your inner value system and open-minded with how you're allowing your ancestry to guide you, right? Because you fucking shouldn't really be right now. Right now, we're moving from an I am perspective. Oh, we fucking should be. And so the semi-sextile to Chiron right in the middle, that's helping you find the weirdness. That's helping you find your authenticity, okay? Because with it asking, hey, like I know there's trauma here, but let's stay open-minded about how much space we're actually allowed to take up. And then that sesquil quadrant to Jupiter, just in case you hadn't stayed open-minded enough, that's going to show you the stuff that you are going to be integrating during Pisces season that has to do with your family or nurturing or security, all of those things. Okay. And then let's go Feb 20. What have you got for us? Okay, this is the Aries moon's going to come in. Okay, the Aries moon. So we get the moon sextiling Uranus. Okay, that is, again, what information do you have? Where are we integrating it? We're almost done. Don't be so fucking stubborn. Let's look at the things happening at 2:22 a.m. So for a lot of people, that's going to involve integrating like relationship shit and trying to come into alignment with yourself. Mercury will semi-square Pluto and be asking like where the balance of give and take is when it comes to what you've got locked up in that underworld space, right? What you need to feel secure in your own skin when it comes to showing up as how you are, communicating who you are, that like you need something that's in that underworld space. And so the outworn situation that came from a place where something traumatic occurred and something was out of balance, something was unfair, the give and take was wrong, and you created some kind of mentality around it that kept this version of you kind of locked up. And we're not wanting that now. We want to get rid of that. So then we get the moon in Aries, okay, because it'll go void with that sextile to Uranus. Then it's going to move into Aries. It's going to say, hello, friend, Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. And that could be pretty fiery. All right. That could be pretty fiery. This whole entire week is going to feel pretty fiery while we adjust to Saturn in Aries. Okay. So 29 degree Pisces placements, even though this is 0 degrees Aries, it's still conjunct, right? It's still conjunct because up until 3 degrees, right? It's still conjunct. So all of this 29 degree Pisces people, this is still conjunct your 29 degree Pisces placement. All right. So then the sun's going to be at 1 degrees of its little Pisces journey, and it's going to talk to the moon at 1 degree. Excellent. Right. So this is kind of saying, really, it's like it's the first check-in, right? It's the first quarter moon. It's just kind of going, hey there, like how you been going? It's not the first quarter moon, my bad, but it's the first check-in, right? It's the first check-in that the sun's having since the eclipse, right? So it's going, hey there, hey moon, how you doing? How you doing since that big eclipse that we had? Like, what's going on? What are you building? What are you starting? How you feeling? Okay. And it's also saying, like, bitch, you better stay open-minded. I know you just started your whole new journey here in Aries, right? First of the zodiac. But I'm up here, Pisces, last of the zodiac, and I'm saying you better stay open-minded because I got some fucking shit to show you. Okay. And then it's going to show it to you. Okay. Biquintile to fucking Jupiter. The truth-seeking energy, looking for weird shit, but powered forward by Mars, God of War. Like, I will find this weird shit. And I will release it. The weird shit, Jupiter at 15 degrees of Cancer. It's your information from the mother, from the wounded mother nurturing family spot, right? Sextile to Pluto. Oh, have a look in the underworld. Any family shit in there? Moon trines Lilith. Oh, why don't you see how that shit actually shows up in your everyday life? Where you got habits around this that need to be looked at. You need to develop habits around this. There's also going to be like a gut feeling situation. 6 degrees Aries moon, 6 degrees Sagittarius, and then semi-squaring Mars. Be careful. Aries, Sag people, be fucking careful. Okay, injury prone people, be careful. These energies are very confusing, right? Very confusing for the mind. So, moon trines Lilith, be careful. Semi-square to Mars, semi-sextile to the node. Stay the fuck open-minded. Like, your truth is being presented to you over the next month. Stay open-minded to it. Some of it's going to speak to you in a language that you've been refusing to speak for years. Okay? Stay open-minded. The semi-sextile to the node wants you to stay open-minded while you transform your shit. Okay? And that would be my full do it, because on the 21st, friends, that's the time, right? That is going to be the aspect, and it is going to happen at 3:52 a.m. in Melbourne on the 21st. And that is the exact meeting point of Saturn conjuncting Jupiter. So let's have a fucking look. Where you at, Saturn, baby? Down here. Down there. Okay. Look at that beautiful conjunction, my friends. Look at it. All green lines, no red. Saturn, boundaries. Neptune, dissolving. Saturn, dissolving boundaries. Saturn, structure. Neptune, dissolving. Saturn, dissolving structures. You've heard astrologers say it. You've heard me say it. The last time we had a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and it wasn't even in Aries, was when the Berlin Wall fell. The last time we had it at 0 degrees of Aries was 9,000 years ago. This is the beginning of all fucking beginnings, okay? Saturn brings structure, brings time, brings rules, brings karma, right? Brings balance, is justice, okay? Neptune is all about ancestral energy, trauma energy, big cycles, 160 years. It's about things that are illusionary, things that put us in a delusion. It's about illness. It rules over Pisces. So it's very deep, dark, bottom of the ocean, fucking foggy nightmare bullshit, right? So starting its new cycle in Aries, okay? Aries being number 1 of the zodiac. So we are at the very fucking beginning, and this being at 0 degrees that they have their conversation with. We are dissolving the boundaries. We are dissolving the structures, and we are doing that before we even start this fucking story. We've only been there since the 14th. So nothing is set in stone, right? Like nothing is set in stone. This aspect brings some fucking reality. We're in a bit of a haze, like from the 14th onwards, especially we're going to be hazy, and then we're going to get smacked in the face by that eclipse. And then we're going to recover. Well, when I say recover, we're going to sit like this for a couple of days, and then we're going to get smacked in the face with this, right? Now, when it makes that conjunction, it is in the 3rd house, communication house, right? Thought processes, the giving and receiving of communication, how you do that. The 3rd house is also very fucking interestingly about early childhood education, right? And it's in Aries, and Aries is the baby, right? So this is like, this is a really poetic way to be able to say that this is where the story starts, where we start realizing that it's up to us to educate the new people, the new world people, right? Early education, to educate them the right way, to restart, to do over, to start again, right? Let's educate them by being present right now. Let's not do it from how we've always done it. Let's not do it from should. Let's not do it from protection of like resources and material bullshit. Let's be honest with them, right? Because anyone who is in early education at school right now, those children, they're already fucking feeling the things that you're refusing to tell them. You're refusing to validate stuff they already feel, right? So there's something quite poetic and beautiful about this aspect happening in the 3rd house, okay? Because where it's making trines, and this is going to be felt very much by the younger people, right? So much. So have some fucking patience and empathy, for children, because they're having this energy too and they don't know what it fucking means, and they already can't emotionally regulate as good as adults are supposed to be. So let them have their fucking feelings. Yes, don't let them hurt themselves, don't let them hurt other people, but let them have their feelings. They want to have a fucking tantrum in the supermarket because you won't buy them a lolly, let them. Let them. They're trying to regulate, okay? We should also be having tantrums when we can't buy candy, okay? Right now, we absolutely should be. We're regulating, okay? So it's making this little trine with the DC, right? Which is this one over here. Now, the DC is about how we relate to people. So it's very interesting to me that we're starting this 0-degree Aries situation in this kind of early education placement about communication and about how we speak to one another and about information and, where we learn these things early on. It's all at 0 degrees of Aries, the baby of the zodiac. And it's also working purely in harmony with how we build relationships with other people, right? Because that also is needing a fucking shift. Okay. Now it's telling us that we will have to make a conscious effort to really explore some of the ideas that have come up in relationship dynamics over the last 7 years that haven't felt right. And it's also asking us to make a conscious effort to see where not accessing that Pluto space, that underworld space, that shadow side of us, where there is authenticity hidden that is very powerful if we can tap into it, that we need to make a conscious effort to try and tap into that and allow that side of us, our shadow side of us, to be seen, okay? Because Pluto's in the first house when this happens. All right. We're being seen. We're popping our little heads out. We're coming out into the new world, Saturn conjunct Neptune. We're sticking our little heads out. And we're really saying, I'm not going to reject my truth anymore. Right. And now, because of that trine up there to the 11th house where we have Lilith sitting, okay, it's also not going to allow you to reject your truth when it comes to friends, groups of people, and what you want that to be in the future. Okay. So all of these big things are coming into play with that conjunction. And so semi-square to Uranus, semi-sextile to Venus, right? So semi-square to Uranus, there's an outworn situation that needs to be let go of, and 12 degrees of Pisces degree, so integration from this information that you've been picking up from relationship dynamics over the last 7 years. Semi-sextile to Venus says the same thing, but it is allowing you to stay open-minded while you integrate some of this trauma energies, these trauma information, this wisdom that has come from traumatic relationships or situations involving your worth, okay? Square to Jupiter, again, fucking bam, your family was fucking involved. If you've got an Aries placement or a Libra placement at 15 degrees, these squares, like you are being squared by Jupiter right now. If you've got 15 degrees, sun, moon, whatever the fuck in Libra, you're in opposition. You're in a square with Jupiter. And if you are Capricorn around 15 degrees, you're in opposition with this. Okay. So every time we get these big squares, that fucking cardinal cross gets activated and you're going to feel real angry. Okay. You're going to feel real angry, like you want to fucking rip somebody's head off. Okay. So that square to Jupiter is going to come in. That's going to be a wild square to Jupiter. Okay. Like Saturday, honestly, good luck. Don't go to work. I wouldn't go on the 20th either. Honestly, take the week off. No, I wouldn't go on the 20th. I wouldn't go on the 17th. I wouldn't go on the 20th. I wouldn't go on the 21st. If you work in an office full of people who can't emotionally regulate, don't fucking do it. It'll be, don't do it. Okay. 10:59 a.m. quintile to Pluto. Again, we really want to be finding all of our power, do we not? Okay, so all of these aspects to Pluto, that's kind of what they're saying. They're like, hello, why don't you do some nurturing with yourself and find like some of this power in this Pluto underworld shadow space and allow it to take up space in your life, because there is an outworn situation, semi-square to the moon, that is affecting your worth, that is affecting your confidence. 17 degrees Leo degree, 2 degrees Taurus degree. It affects your physical life. It affects how you enjoy beauty, how you enjoy confidence, being yourself, taking up space as yourself, right? So like, get rid of it. The outworn situations, the outworn ideas, the outworn people in your life, get rid of them. Semi-sextile to Mercury, you better stay open-minded, bitch, because at 20 degrees of Pisces, we are crash and burn, death and rebirth. So keep an open mind while we're working on these mentalities. Says Mercury, a couple of days away from stationing retrograde. Fun. So then sesquil quadrant to Lilith at 7 degrees. And I'm telling you, relationships are not going to survive. Shitty relationships will not survive February. And if they do, good fucking luck to you in the Venus retrograde later this year, because that's not going to be fucking kind. Someone will be cheating by then for sure. For sure. Okay. That's what will happen. Predictions by Analia, the Explicit Empress. If you don't break up with your fuckwit partner now, later on down the track, they're gonna put their thing in other people, or you'll have some things in you that don't belong to them. That's my new classic hit, okay? That's my new classic hit. So, sextile quadrant to Lilith. Oh, 22-degree Aries moon, Capricorn. Take responsibility for the I am component of your emotions. Because when you get triggered in relationships to reject your truth, you go back into some kind of spiral pattern, and that bitch needs, you got to stop that. You're going to have to make a decision. Okay, you're going to have to make a decision to stop that from happening. Moon sextile Mars, you're going to have to make a conscious effort as well, right? These are all fucking related, because you're being shown where that pattern sends you round and round and round and round. And that sextile says you need to make a conscious effort to work on that. 22 degrees is a Capricorn degree. So that bitch is cold as shit. So if you realize that that relationship is not for you, that moon sextile Mars is going to have you packing your shit, not even saying a fucking thing, and leaving. That's cold. That's fiery. That's rebellion that moves fast. Okay? Conjunction to Chiron, whatever happens during that sextile quadrant to Lilith and that sextile to Mars, it's going to empower you. It's going to empower you to continue to fight yourself and take up more and more space as who you are and what you need and what you want in your fucking life. Okay? That's what I've got for you for the week. Starts with some fuckery, ends with a bang. One of, if not the most transformative week that you will have in your whole entire existence. So let's get an oracle for the week. Okay, we're going to get it from Oracle of the Witch, because that is what I'm being drawn to. So let's ask the fucking witches. Okay, let's ask them. Let's ask the witches. Ancestors, witches, those wise spirit guides and higher selves, what can you give us about the week of the 15th to the 21st of February? What do we need? Okay. Yep. All right, first one out was the Kitchen Witchery card, okay? It's about, I mean, number 25 is an Aries degree, right? So that's going to give us an I am quality to it. But what we're talking about here is health, all right? This is making sure that you are not only using and eating and putting stuff into your body that is healthy, but also that is from the earth, right? Anything that you can grow yourself that you can put into your body, whether that's just herbs, right? Maybe it's just a little tomato tree. I don't fucking care. Get something out of your garden or someone who has a garden and fucking eat it, right? This week is very much about allowing the universe, which includes the earth, to give us what we fucking need, which is protection. Okay, which is protection. Okay. And it's about wherever you get fucking protection. Is it talking to your spirit guides? Is it meditating, right? Where are you getting it from? Protect yourself this week. Protect yourself physically by eating good food, by being safe on the roads. Protect yourself emotionally and spiritually by meditating, by allowing your body to go through what it needs to go through. Okay, now I've got foretelling and magnification, because yes. And if you are someone who is not on a spiritual journey yet, and I've somehow come into your existence, friend, you are about to have a spiritual awakening that you will not be able to go back from. And as somebody who has had many spiritual awakenings in my journey so far, hello, welcome, you're not crazy. Okay. We have persevered through so many things, right? This card always gives me hanged man vibes, okay? But she's choosing to be hanging upside down, okay? And she's also, this is card number 29. Like 29 degrees of Saturn in Pisces, 29 degrees of Neptune in Pisces. That is what we've been dealing with. And that is what we've been persevering through. And this card is really telling me that it's not only magnified our spiritual abilities, those of us that have been working with it, but it is also allowing us to see that we have persevered through some absolute fuckery. And this is giving me ancestor vibes of like how we've really persevered through a lot of ancestral fuckery. Okay? So that's what I've got for you for the week of the 15th to the 21st. If you'd like to come and get a birth chart reading, I would highly recommend it. And if you've had a birth chart reading before and you want to get a energetic fuckery report for the next few months, go and do that as well. I will be changing some of the wording on some of my appointments, and the ones that say energetic fuckery reports, that's the one I'm talking about. That's not there yet. That's just an energy reading. But I'm going to align it a little bit more with the words that I use so that we can really understand which appointments we need. Okay. I do highly advise that you get at least 6 months worth of like where the big energies are coming for you. Okay. Especially if you are feeling like untethered. Okay. It really helps. Yeah. Share this with anyone who needs it. Come back to it as many times as you want. Let me know in the comments if anything really rings fucking true for you. Otherwise, I'll see you around on the social media platforms. I'll see you on the TikTok mostly. I'll see you on the Instagram sometimes. And as always, stay weird.